Hola alumnos, ahora estudiamos la diferencia entre el pretérito y el imperfecto. La información para esta lección está en las páginas 266 y 267. So, we are going to discuss these differences between the two forms that we've learned in the past tense, the preterite and the imperfect, el pretérito y el imperfecto. This lesson is going to go a little differently. We're going to discuss the differences between the two. And usually I provide you with an example. However, you'll see that on your lesson guides, for those of you who are using these lesson guides, that there is a space for you to write your own examples. So what I would like for you to do is, after each description of when you use the preterite and then when you use the imperfect, pause the video and record or write down your own example of how your particular sentence pertains to that definition. And be sure to include your verb using the appropriate tense, be it the preterite, el pretérito, o el imperfecto. So let's begin. First of all, we are going to use el pretérito when we are talking about a single completed action, what someone did or didn't do. So think about a completed single action in the past and write your example. We are going to use el imperfecto when we want to talk about a habitual action or event. So if we want to express the idea, think of it as the idea in English when we talk about something that we used to do or something that we would always do in the past. So something that was habitual, something that happened more than once, frequently in the past. And write your example. Excelente. Now we're going to use the preterite, el pretérito, when we want to talk about a highlighted main action, something specific, something that is extremely important in the past. We use el imperfecto when we want to talk about a background action or a description that sets the state or sets the tone for our main action. So we can include time, location, age, weather, physical and emotional states, such as I was feeling such and such way when something happened. Okay? How you were feeling during that time period, how you were feeling, you're going to use the imperfect. Whenever happens that interrupts it is going to be preterite. Okay? So think of background information. You could actually use the sentence that you just wrote and then focus on that background information. That will let you know that you've conjugated the verb appropriately in the imperfect tense. We'll also use the preterite when we want to talk about the beginning or the conclusion of an event. Pinpointed, okay? Beginning, happened, started, finished, end, conclusion. We will use el imperfecto when we want to talk about the middle of the event, or we want to put emphasis on an indefinite continuation of the event. Okay, all of this is talking about the past. We're talking about that duration of time in between the beginning and the end. We want to put our emphasis on the period of time that happens in between. Think of it as something really fluid. We will use the imperfect. So write your example focusing on a duration of time in the past. Muy bien. This next example is another one that you can use the same sentence, and we're going to focus on different parts of this sentence. What I would like for you to do is to write a sentence in which you are talking about some event or some action that was happening. Maybe you were watching TV and then something else occurs, interrupting the fact that you've been watching TV. So in Spanish, write a sentence explaining what was happening, what was going on, an ongoing event or action in the past that was interrupted. You should conjugate that part of the sentence in the imperfect tense. Once again, we're talking about background information. The event that interrupts it is going to be conjugated in the preterite tense. So, in English, I might say something like, I was watching TV when my brother called my cell phone. Don't use that example. But I was watching TV when my brother called my cell phone. The part where I'm saying I was watching TV is going to be conjugated in the imperfect. When my brother called my cell phone will be conjugated in the preterite because it's interrupting that ongoing action. Finally, we will use the preterite with verbs that are associated with time expressions such as ayer, anteayer, anoche, una vez, dos veces, el mes pasado, o de repente. All of those are red flags that, hey, we need to use the preterite. Some red flag words or phrases for the imperfect tense are time expressions such as todos los días, cada semana, siempre, frecuentemente, de niño o de niña, and de joven. So for each one, write an example using one of those time expressions and be sure to conjugate your verb appropriately, be it in el pretérito o el imperfecto. So now we also have some verbs that refer to states or conditions. And notice that these verbs change their meaning. If we use them in the preterite tense, they mean one thing. But if we use them in the imperfect tense, they mean something else. So the first verb is saber. Saber meaning to know. En el pretérito, supe significa I found out. Like you found out some information. En el imperfecto, sabía significa I knew. Con el verbo querer, meaning to want, quise en el pretérito significa I wanted to and I did. En el imperfecto, quería significa I wanted to, but the outcome's undetermined. It's not clear as to whether I did or I didn't. It's undetermined. Tenemos el verbo poder. Poder meaning to be able to. En el pretérito, pude significa I was able to and I did. En el imperfecto, podía significa I was able to. I did have the ability to do it, but whether I did it or not is undetermined. También tenemos tener que. To have to do something. So, en el pretérito tenemos tuve que. I had to and I did. I was required to do something and I did it. En el imperfecto, tenía que significa I had to, but whether or not I did it was undetermined. The outcome is undetermined. Y finalmente, tenemos tener, meaning to have. En el pretérito significa tuve, o vamos a decir tuve, y tuve significa I got or I received. En el imperfecto, tenía significa I had in my possession. Muy bien, excelente. Así, por favor, practiquen cómo utilizar y cuándo debemos utilizar el pretérito o el imperfecto. Y hasta la próxima vez, nos vemos.